What's up guys, my name is Ace, and a couple days ago with Modern Warfare 2, we got a confirmed weapon count for the game, and they even gave us a weapon count for each of the individual weapon categories. However, they didn't list out every one of the guns in the game, and it turns out with campaign early access, there's a way to get into some of the menus. And with this, it looks like we can see all of the guns that are going to be in the game, including potentially some guns that are coming post-launch. Now, for those that want to try accessing these menus, I don't know if Infinity Ward's going to patch this or not, so just keep that in mind. But all you have to do is, if you're on console, plug in a keyboard, and when you're at the main menu for the campaign, hit the F6 button. And this should take you into a basic loadout screen where you can dive into some of the details of the loadout. Also, on PC, you should be able to access the firing range from here, at least at this point. However, at least on my PS5, every time I try to do that, it just crashes the game, so I can't actually get into the firing range there. One thing to be careful about, though, is I've noticed they have been taking down any sort of videos or images of the firing range itself, so I'm not going to be showing any of that in this video, and I'm also going to play it safe and not show off all of the full menus. However, I will be showing you guys the individual icons for every one of the guns in the game. Also, one last quick note here is we're still expecting a huge day one update for the game, so what you're seeing in these menus isn't necessarily 100% set in stone for launch. There's clearly a bunch of things in this that are still in an unfinished state, and therefore don't be surprised if some of this changes for launch. And without further ado, let's just hop right into this and start off with the assault rifles. These are the 10 assault rifles to be expecting at launch. We have the Chimera, which is the Honey Badger, Lockman 556, the STB 556, which is the AUG, the M4, M16, Castoff 762, Castoff 74U, Castoff 545, M13B, or SIG MCX, as well as the TAC 56. As for the battle rifles, we have 4 here. We've got the TAC V, which is the SCAR H, the SO14, the FTAC Recon, and the Lockman 762. After that, when it comes to SMGs, according to their blog post from earlier in the week, we're supposed to be expecting 7 SMGs at launch. However, there's 9 available in the game, and we actually had access to all 9 of these in the campaign as well. I was really paying attention and getting images of all of them. So that's quite interesting. I'm curious to see if the blog post is wrong, or maybe they're going to be holding some of these back for like a Season 1 update or something. I don't really know. But in either case, we've got the Lockman Sub, the BASP, which is the SIG MPX. We've got the MX9, which is the AUG Para, the Vaznev 9K, which is the PP19 Vitias, the FSS Hurricane, the Minibok, which is the PP19 Bizon, the PDSW 528, the Vel 46, or MP7, and then finally the Fennec 45. Then for shotguns, we've got 4 of them, which is the expected number. We've got the Lockwood 300, the Bryson 800, the Bryson 890, which I was interested to see. That's a totally different gun. I thought that was just going to be like a magazine attachment on the gun, but it is a different gun. And then finally the Expedite 12, which we had access to in the beta. Moving on to the LMGs, we've got 6 of them. We've got the RAL MG, the HCR 56, which is the AUG H-Bar, the 556 Icarus, the RPK, the RAP H, as well as the Sakin or Sakin MG 38. Then when it comes to Marksman Rifles, we've got 6 of them as expected. We've got the LMS, the SPR 208, the EBR 14, the TAC M, the SAB 50, and the Lockwood Mark II. After that, we've got sniper rifles, which we were only expecting 3 according to the blog post, but there are 5 in the menus here. We've got the MCPR 300, the Victus XMR, the Signal 50, the LAB 330, and then finally the SPX 80. Again, I don't know if that blog post is wrong, or if we could expect some of these with like the Season 1 update, for instance. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But finally, moving into some other categories, we have 2 melee categories. One's a primary, one's a secondary. The primary is the riot shield. The secondary is the combat knife. I just threw them on the same screen here, though. As for other secondaries, we have 3 launchers in the menus here, the RPG, the Pila, as well as the Joker. However, the blog post stated we'd be seeing 4 at launch, and from this image right here from the blog post, this appears to be the Strela P, so I think that's also going to be coming at launch, and that's one of the reasons that I do expect with the day 1 updates, this list is going to be changing a little bit. But finally, one last category of weapons to go through are our sidearms. We've got the X12 and X13 Auto, the 50GS or Desert Eagle, the P890, which is based on the SIG P220, and the Centum 5, which is a revolver. So there we go, that's the full weapon list that we can see in the menus as of right now with the campaign early access for Modern Warfare 2. It's worth noting with all of these guns, they also list the platform that it's attached to. However, those are clearly incomplete. Some of them are obviously like placeholder names, and I'm not even going to list them out because they could change so much between now and launch, but it's kind of obvious which ones would stay on the same platform as each other, like the various versions of the AUG or the SCAR, for instance. They will obviously be in the same weapon tree or platform. As for a couple other interesting notes that I wanted to point out here that we can gain from these menus, it looks like when you reach the maximum level for a weapon, the final unlock is going to be weapon tuning, which means perhaps they didn't actually scrap that slider tuning that they showed many of us in a behind-the-scenes presentation several months ago, where the gunsmith was in a totally different state at that point, and in that they had attachment tuning, which allowed you to move sliders on attachments and adjust exactly how those perform. So not only can you select different attachments, you can also edit those attachments, which I find to be potentially overcomplicated and a little bit interesting. I wasn't surprised at all to see that it looked like they scrapped it as far as we could tell within the beta and everything, because they didn't mention it at all and it wasn't available in the beta. But looking at these menus here, it seems we may gain access to that once you max out a gun. Now again, with that though, just to be clear, this doesn't mean it's not necessarily scrapped. Maybe this is still working off of like an old build, and once we get that day one update, this will disappear. Or maybe this is a different kind of weapon tuning that they didn't show us at that presentation. I'm not too sure what's going on here, but I thought it was definitely an interesting thing to note. Another thing is there was a perk swap as well. As far as I can tell, all of the perks are exactly the same as they were in the beta. However, it looks like they have swapped Quick Fix with the Hardline perk. So Quick Fix used to be a tier 2 perk, now it's a tier 3 perk, and then Hardline was a tier 3 perk, now it's a tier 2 perk. And honestly, while I was hoping to see a whole lot more perk changes and perk swaps, and maybe we will see it for the full launch of the game, I do think this particular change makes some sense. As much as I loved using Quick Fix and Ghost, I think those are good competition for each other. And also, I thought it was really strange that the Hardline perk was unlocked as our ultimate perk, which we don't get until a little bit later in the match, when that's something that I feel should be active right from the beginning of a match. Now, on top of this, I did want to talk about the firing range that we have access to right now. Just looking at the gameplay that other people have posted, again, this is getting taken down, so I wouldn't recommend uploading any footage of this if you manage to get in and play it. But I did want to at least talk about the firing range as we can see it right now, and it's not looking nearly as robust as I was really hoping that it would be. What I was really hoping for was a COD Mobile style firing range, where you have access to all different kinds of targets, so you kind of have actual character models like bots that will stand at different ranges, as well as the standard pop-down targets, so you shoot them, they fall down, then they end up standing up again. And then ideally, I'd also like to see actual damage values when you shoot the targets, and I'd like to see those damage multipliers change depending on which body multiplier you're shooting, so you can do some proper testing there. And unfortunately, the version of the firing range that some people are gaining access to right now is extremely basic. It's essentially just 3 character like statues. They're not actual character models, but they're shaped like human characters. And they're at 3 different distances, and you can shoot them and they will fall down and then they'll pop back up, but you don't get any damage values. I don't know if body multipliers are being factored in properly there. And I've got to be honest, my initial impression of that is not very good. I was definitely hoping for more there. At the same time though, I do appreciate the fact that we're at least getting a firing range, and at least this is better than nothing at all, and better than we've seen for the past few years. But with that, that's pretty much it. That's going to wrap it up for today's video on all of the weapons, as well as a few other little things that I noticed with this little F6 trick to get into the menus. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What are you guys thinking about all of this? What are you guys thinking about the weapons we have access to? Are there any surprises there? Any guns you were hoping to see that aren't on the list? And also, what are you thinking about the current state of the firing range in the game? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.